you're out there eating McDonald's, you can invest in McDonald's. You're drinking Coca-Cola, like you can invest in Coca-Cola. Like you can invest in the companies that you're using every day and win from their growth. So like this topic of what can you do with $100? Like if you have $100 and you really don't know where to put your money where your mouth is. Like literally, if you're using something, if you're consuming something, or if you're using something, like put your money there, because like chances are the majority of the rest of the world or the rest of the United States is doing the exact same thing.
Woohoo! It could actually be our quick little jingle.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to Stocks for Dads, where you can learn how to build generational wealth for you and your family. I'm John, and I'm joined by my co-host, Michael.
Yeah, what's going on?
How you doing? This is our first podcast, if you can't already tell the nervousness in our voice.
I'm not nervous. You were the only one that's nervous.
I'm pretty nervous. It's actually really hot in this room.
Me too. And my heart is pounding.
Well, here, this is how we're going to start. So, Michael, tell me about the latest YouTube video that you posted.
Which one was that?
Off.
Which one was that? For which channel? Oh, for the stocks channel.
Yeah, for the stocks channel. That's what I meant. Let's stick to stocks. That's kind of what the podcast is about.
Which video was that?
I think, you know what? The one that first comes to mind is the dividend one. Actually, something that I'm.
Was that the last one? That wasn't the last one.
It wasn't the last one, but it was the one that first.
The dividend ones, yes. So, yeah, it was just a video like about a bunch of dividend stocks that I personally own and that I recommend to folks to buy. Like, what is it? It was Philip Morris, Kinder Morgan, AT&T. What were the other two? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember the exact ones. There are so many. Anyways,
like there's a boatload of stocks that you can invest in for really good dividends, really good returns. But the 5 that I put in that video were like searchable on the internet. Good.
Are you invested in those ones?
Yes, personally, all 5 of them. At the time of making the video, I think I had owned all 5 of them by that time. Okay. So like I was planning to make this video, and then I thought, hey, it's going to be pretty hypocritical of me to not actually own the stocks. Like, hey, you should totally go buy this stock and get these dividends, but I actually didn't own them myself, so I bought into them before making the video.
There are plenty of stocks though that I would like to hold that I just don't. I haven't gotten the funds exactly where they need to be just yet. So
100% true. I completely agree. Yes, like so they're like cheaper options, like getting into something like Kinder Morgan or getting into like AT&T is super easy. But on the other hand, something like Philip Morris that has a really good dividend and super growth potential. It's actually like super expensive. Like I guess for the average Joe, it's like just under $100, like $90, $91, something like that.
Like in another video that you did on Boeing, that's a dividend stock. It's like 2 point something, but that one is actually is pretty expensive. You recommended slow buying that one, and you know. Not everybody has 10 grand laying around to be able to do that, but you can't. For me, just looking at that stock and the price of it, slow buying is the only option.
It's literally the only option, even for me. For me, like I have a lot of money on the side to jump into stocks, and upon making that video, so I knew this is a really good buying opportunity for one. Like looking forward, and obviously it has really good dividends. But then I was like, man, this is kind of expensive. Like it's going to be really hard for the average person to gather up all the funds. At first gather up all the funds and then buy one share.
Right.
You know what I mean? And actually, I was walking into work a couple of days after I made that video. One of the guys that I work with, one of the soldiers that I worked with, he was like, "Hey man, I saw that Boeing video and I was really gonna I was gonna go in, I was gonna buy some, but holy crap, they're expensive." And I was like, "Look, hey man, if you watch the video, just like know that like this stock has like ways to go. Like it's gonna get way better. Just buy one." Right. Like he's an Army guy, so he's got a solid paycheck. He's got money coming in every 2 weeks. So it's like you can like gather $150 this paycheck, $150 next paycheck or something, jam it together and get the share.
And that's a great segue into our main topic, which is starting. You did that on purpose, didn't you?
Yeah.
starting to invest with only $100.
With $100 a month, and it can be done. And I'll tell you, it can be done because my son does it.
And I need to get my kids involved in investing and get interested in that and stuff. We need to get your book.
You just need to read my book.
Yeah.
It's free on Amazon, by the way. Like if you have the Amazon Kindle or whatever it is,
free?
it's actually free. But even if it's not, I think it's like $1, something like that.
A lot of financial health books, these kinds of things should be free. You know,
Definitely,
they should be offered for free, or at least offered for free to schools so they can start teaching them. Because I mean, at an early age, kids can get interested in this stuff. I mean, your kid is a great example of that. You know, have his own portfolio, and I mean, it doesn't take anybody. It doesn't take a lot of time, you know,
right,
to be able to do this. And once a month, you know, really just reviewing your portfolio and taking that $100 that you've budgeted for, which is a very important first step to be taking, being on a budget, right? Allocating those funds, and then, you know, finding the stocks, preferably having the stocks in mind, or whatever that you want to get, or not even just stocks, but just investing that $100 in whatever it is that you find interesting, something that you want to put your money towards, right?
Yeah.
And you said this before, you should be, and a lot of financial gurus and people, I don't like using the term guru, but financial advisors.
Guru.
Yeah, well, because guru gives it this connotation of
they're
this
like
person,
this ultimate being or something.
Yeah, or this person, like, it's there's a stigma. It's like, oh, this person doesn't really know what they're talking about. Really, they're just out for your money, or you know, that kind of stuff. But a lot of people talk about Dave Ramsey as being like that financial guru. Yeah, whatever he says, but no, what he talks about, financial health and everything, is very true, and he offers most of it for free.
Sure thing.
Yeah, basically taking that $100 and investing in what you personally take advantage of, what companies you use. Like we were talking about Adobe earlier, because we use Adobe in a lot of
all of the editing.
Yeah, and I definitely want to invest in Adobe stock. I use their product all the time. I pay them a membership.
Like all of the YouTubers that are out there creating content, who doesn't use Photoshop to create their thumbnails? Who doesn't use Adobe Premiere to edit their videos? I mean, there are a bunch of other editing programs.
I use GIMP.
Sorry. If you use another different program out there, I'm sorry. But the Adobe suite is amazing. On top of that, if you're a student, the subscription that you pay for is like super cheap. Yeah. So like I was going to school. So like I was a student when I was a student at UMUC when I started making YouTube videos, and so I said, hey, I'm a student, and so they made it super cheap. And so it's like, it's a program, or it's a set of programs, that whole package that really any editor or any person, any creator can use. And I think it's like
that's how I get started.
Yeah. And look at everything nowadays, like it's like PDF form. Like PDF is by Adobe. Yeah. It's like the Coca-Cola of internet programs.
It is. And it's only, if you look at the stock, it's been steadily growing over the past 5 years. Which I think it's free trade, or its trading had started like less than 5 years ago.
So like just recently IPO'd, huh?
Yeah, basically, yeah. So, and it's not volatile at all. I mean, it's a company that's been around for a long time and stuff, so they had that sustainability. But if you look at it, and I mean, of course, it peaked. You know, it's peaked right now, but it's basically stable. But it's been steadily growing every year, and it will continue because they have tons of projects and stuff. I'm surprised, even being an Adobe user for as long as I have been, finding the things that I found, like Spark and other stuff.
It's a thing like that. Like a lot of people don't realize that there's stuff that they use every day that they can invest in. Mm-hmm. You're out there eating McDonald's, you can invest in McDonald's. You're drinking Coca-Cola, like you can invest in Coca-Cola. Like you can invest in the companies that you're using every day and win from their growth. Mm-hmm. So like this topic of what can you do with $100? Like if you have $100 and you really don't know where to put your money where your mouth is. Like literally, if you're using something, if you're consuming something, or if you're using something, like put your money there, because like chances are the majority of the rest of the world or the rest of the United States is doing the exact same thing.
At the very least, you're going to be continuing. It's a staple product, right? You're going to be continuing to use these things, like Coca-Cola, for example. Great company to invest in. Obviously, don't put all your money into one company, but when you're picking and choosing your investments, that's what you want to think of, is like, what do I use? What do people use? What's going to be around forever, you know? And for me specifically, I look at their dividends. I look at, you know, what sort of money I could get. They're great, especially if you reinvest those dividends. It's Cash cow, baby.
When money makes you money, it feels so good.
Yes. And if for instance, if you were to do like what we're recommending here, taking that $100 and investing it every month, if you were to do that from age 20 to, not 22, but 20 to 65, you would have more than $1 million in retirement.
Totally.
For retirement.
Yep.
Likewise, if you're taking that money and you're putting it into your Roth IRA, and it's compounding, that compounding interest. A lot of people just misunderstand that compounding interest can work for you, can work against you.
Mm-hmm.
People don't understand compounding interest in general. So, like for instance, credit cards get a hold of them, and they just realize that they don't realize that they're in a hole, and that they're never going to climb out of it because of that compounding interest. Right? They end up spending accumulating more in interest than they can actually spend and get out of. So, it works for you or works against you in that way. It can work for you for retirement. And there's absolutely no reason. The math is math. Like numbers are numbers. They're absolute. Yeah. So there's no reason why you can't turn that around and say, look, this is how much I'm going to invest. This is how much I'm going to pay myself, right? And then, make a great future for yourself and for your kids.
And $100 a month is not hard. It's not hard. Like really, if you think, okay, I'm going to take the month and I'm going to split it in half. I've got 2.5 weeks to come up with $50. Budget yourself so you can have $50 in the first half of the month and $50 in the second half of the month. Boom, you have $100. It's not hard. Yeah. A lot of the time people get into the, get living paycheck to paycheck, and debt management is a complete other subject that we can get into one day, maybe. But, really get into your budget and figure out a way to just find $100, right? And then if you don't know where to put your money, right? So I tell folks all the time about getting into the index funds. So the problem with the index funds, though, is they, like a lot of the other big stocks, are super expensive. So you can't take $100 and buy a part of the S&P 500 or a part of Dow Jones. But what you can do is, like, each of those index funds are split up into sectors. So like, what is the ticker for S&P 500? Spider. I think it's Spider, something like that. So the S&P 500 is made up of all these different sectors. If you want to buy the S&P 500 as a whole, you need like $280 to buy the shares, to buy just one share. But the Spider S&P 500 is actually broken up into all of the different sectors. So you have like the technology sector, you have the financial sector. So you have all of these different sectors that you can invest in that pretty much track the exact same price movement, the exact same stock price movement as the S&P 500. So for example, I think the financial sector of the S&P 500 is like $25. It's like super cheap. So you can take $100 and buy 3 or 4 shares of the financial sector of the S&P 500, and you're buying into the banks. You're buying into all of the banks of the S&P 500 that typically, and banks have their problems and all their own personal problems and risks and stuff like that. But typically that ETF, that fund, is going to follow the trend of the S&P 500. Right. You do the same thing with tech.
Right. And you're going to be making about 10 to 12% or something, which is the trend for the market for annually. Yeah. Which is great return, on your money, right?
It's way better than anything you're going to get. And if you have a child, like a lot of parents want to put money into their kids' savings accounts. They want to get they want to build a college fund. So they go and they put all their money in this like 1%, 2% savings account. But it's like, if you took the same amount of money and put it into the S&P 500, put it into those sectors, you would have more than enough like if you start your child off, at like, say, maybe age 10, or age 9, whatever you think, okay, I'm going to start saving for my child's future, which, to be honest, should be like right at the get-go. You would have an insane amount of money to send your kid to any college you want. And it's like, you don't have to do anything. You're just riding the stock market.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, this isn't short term, right? Your kid isn't going to go to college tomorrow. Right. So putting this money away and saving it for, 18 to 20 years or whatever, say, you're pregnant right now, that 20-year span, you're going to have more than enough by the time they get ready to go to college to be able to pay for the entire thing.
Look at the Dow Jones alone. So like whenever the Dow Jones broke 20K, what was that, like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years? I mean, it was just recently. Everybody was like, going crazy. Like, okay, the Dow Jones broke 20,000. Oh, it broke 25,000. But like look at where it was whenever it was 10,000 points. That was like the 1990s. So it's only 2008 or 2000. I almost said 2018, 2019 now, and it's already on its way to doubling soon. So like we're gonna get to 30K soon, and then like how do I explain it? How do I make it not sound stupid? Just imagine like if it went from 10,000 in 1990s until to 25, 26K now, where is it going to be 20 or 30 years from now? Like if you're a dad or you're a mom and you guys are getting ready to have a child soon, okay, I think my child is going to go to school in 20 years. Just look at how the stock market moves in the past. Look how it's moved in the past and look at how it moves on the trend. It's like you can't beat it.
And this kind of actually brings a question to mind that I see a lot on these financial websites and things. It's when is a good time to start investing? And of course, the answer is now.
Right.
Right. And I thought about that, and I asked myself, like, okay, well, things are expensive now. At least they feel like they're expensive. So I mean, buying into it and everything like that, I understand the logic behind it, but how can I make it more sense of it, right? And then I thought about back in 100 years ago, let's say, or whatever, right? And we had the stock market. What were people making back then?
Sure.
And how much were things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, stocks might have been cents and dollars and everything like that, but that's literally how much someone was bringing home.
That was big money back in the day.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, it's like percentage wise, it's the same.
Yeah.
So, relative, it's comparable, right? I mean, give or take a few specific cases and scenarios, but essentially the amount of money that I'm making now is comparable to somebody, because it's inflation. It's the cost of goods and services and things like that raised, and also my wages raised and stuff, and the same thing along with the stock market prices and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's really no real difference between investing then and investing now.
Yep.
And that's why to me, that's at least the way that I've made sense of it, why they say now is the best time to invest.
Yep.
And we can get down into the nitty gritty and say like, oh yeah, maybe you want to invest in a downturn. But the fact of the matter is, if you're going to be investing in small increments over a long period of time, continuing to invest, if you're investing in dividends, reinvesting your dividends, all that kind of stuff, you're talking about just doing it when you can do it.
Yep.
And you just do it, and you kind of just set it aside. Like you do that twice a month, once a month, however way you decide to budget. You say like, okay, cool, I've paid myself, which is always, what you do when you first start budgeting. Yep. Pay yourself. And then you start paying your bills. Now, how you decide on that, if you paying yourself is also your investments, good on you.
Yes.
So if that's part of paying yourself,
that's all I get is my investments.
That's what I did too. Yeah. And the amount of money I have left over for myself, sometimes I just kind of roll over into the next month if I want to buy a particular thing. Yeah. Because what I do is I think about, and this might be a little obsessive, I don't know, but I think about that coffee that I'm buying or whatever, small thing, $5. I think like, well, if I reinvested that for 40 years, how much could I have?
Yeah.
Yep. And then and sometimes it keeps me from buying the unnecessary things.
I know that, but don't let it drive you crazy.
It hasn't.
Don't let it drive you crazy. Because like everybody, like you should first invest your money, but like, you can't live your entire life not having any fun or enjoying anything. Like, enjoy some life, enjoy some of it, but invest the rest of it.
Well, actually, a buddy of mine, I talk to anybody who wants to hear. I want to discuss it. I talk to him about it, and so I don't know. Maybe me and Sam were talking, and then one of the other contractors up there was like, well, I don't really want to get into all that because I like spending my money and having fun. I don't want to like save all my money only to, use it when I'm old and can't really have fun anymore, or I die before that time, God forbid, that kind of thing, right? And even though he was well aware he could just give that over to his family and stuff, he's just basically, I don't want to live like suffering, my whole life only to really not be able to enjoy it in the end, right?
I guess.
And I totally understand where he's coming from, but that's when you have a lack of perspective, right? That's when you think that you and I are just like taking every single cent that we can, and it kind of sounds that way about what I said earlier.
Feels like it sometimes too.
Yeah, we're taking like every cent, we're putting it in there and stuff. But we have actually paid ourselves, and I don't have a lot of expensive hobbies. If I want to buy something, I have the money to buy it. I budget for these things and stuff. I don't keep myself from anything but going into debt.
Yep.
I keep myself from going into debt. And then however much money I have left over is how much money I can invest.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And the better I budget, the more I can invest, the more I can make. And that's a really good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you are debt free, and not a lot of Americans are,
right?
When you're debt free and you're able to invest and you're able to buy whatever it is that you want. If I wanted to buy a car today, I could go out and I could finance a car.
Oh, get you a nice Tesla, maybe?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
I like Teslas. They're pretty.
Honestly, there's been some really. I don't like Tesla as a company,
oh,
and I know you invest them. I know you invest in Tesla.
That's why I want everyone to go out and buy a Tesla today.
I know you have holdings in Tesla. I do not.
Yes.
And it's just because I don't like their business. I think they're a good company in general and stuff, but I just don't like their business practice. I don't like Elon Musk's business practices.
He is a bit of a showboy.
Yeah, and it feels unstable. And a lot of times you can judge a company by its CEO.
True.
And that's why I don't have any Facebook stock either.
Bum, bum, bum.
I mean, Mark Zuckerberg, nothing against him, anything like that. It's just I didn't like the way that the hearings went, and I didn't like their responses to the way that, data mining is done against them and all this kinds of stuff. I don't feel like they have a very they're going to be very proactive about protecting people's information. Not that I feel like they could do anything necessarily, and I'm not judging them like, oh, I know what I would do.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I would do. I just feel like they don't know what they're going to do. And as a company, they should at least have they should have done a better job of convincing the people watching, obviously the senators up there and stuff,
right.
have no idea.
No idea what's going on. How does the internet work?
If I push this button, does it order me a sandwich or give the launch codes to the Russians? No.
Do the Chinese know everything I eat for breakfast?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, probably.
Yeah, they do. And they would be the ones that care.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's not going to be having any regular bowel movements the next few days. So, anywho, and I mean, you don't have to be paying attention to these companies like that. You really don't. You just have to. If you have a Coke in your hand while you're listening to this, driving, or if you're just enjoying your lunch break or whatever, and you're enjoying a Coke, chances are you could have a safe bet just investing in Coke.
I tell you what, people enjoy a Facebook more often than they enjoy a Coke, I think.
I actively use Facebook, and
every day, bro. Every day.
I am a Facebook user.
When's the last time you had a Coke?
Actually, today I had.
Okay,
Coke Zero.
One. You only have one. Okay.
Also, you can't really say it because actually Coke owns a lot of products.
Yeah, you're right. Like everything else.
Not just a Coke, but
Gatorade,
literally they own
and Powerade and Dasani and.
Yes.
Too many other things. Okay. In general, you've had more Facebook today than you've had Coke.
Yes, I guess. If you could
and
measure,
I really think
watch time and
I really think when like big companies start getting into Facebook and they start using the platform for what it is, basically a giant advertising platform, and I think that money starts going into Facebook, man, it's just that stock price is going to skyrocket. And I want you to be left behind, bro.
Yes, no, I agree that it is a very stable advertising platform and that it will advance. I don't believe that it will be as much of a spearhead as you think it will be, just because of their accessibility is limited. And honestly, I think it's because of regulation. Like YouTube has the same issue with ads and regulating content. So right now we're getting into this issue of hate speech and how to regulate speech without infringing upon it, right?
Yeah.
And as long as this kind of stuff is going on and they're trying to create regulations around that kind of stuff, it's going to be hard for online platforms to work with advertisers and stuff. So, and now we're talking short term, right?
Yeah.
I'm maybe, I mean, in the future I might invest, in these companies and things, but maybe in like a few years after I feel like the dust has settled down. Does that make sense? So everybody has their own way of approaching things. Now,
sure thing.
me, like, so I'm a big into real estate and stuff. So obviously my plans and everything, they sort of center around that. But of course I enjoy watching companies and investing in stocks as well. Mostly the stocks that I do, I follow the S&P 500. So most of the stocks that I've invested in are through my Roth IRA. So it's a lot of just, set it and forget it kind of things, right? Yeah. Now I'm about 90% invested in completely stocks, so in 10% in bonds, and or maybe 5 in bonds and 5 in international or something like that.
Bonds, ew.
I know I don't like bonds either, but it's one of those, just it's a standard practice.
Standard safe bet, I guess.
It's a standard practice, and honestly, bonds were great, in my mom's era, but they are what they are right now. They basically just are as good as a savings account. They do better when the stock market is declining severely.
And you never know. Like, everybody thinks that there's a big stock market crash coming in like this year or next year. You never know. Your bonds might actually, do really well. And then I'll be the one in the dust. But instead of buying bonds, I'm just going to be buying stocks for cheap.
But to get around that, right? Because long term, right? We're always talking long term. If the stock market takes a dip, I'm going to be jumping up and down.
Yep.
I honestly, if the stock market, it doesn't crash and causes entire global whatever, right? But if the same thing happens, like what happened in December, I'm going to be jumping up and down because that's when I'm going to be picking up all kinds of stuff.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Buy the whole way down.
And my annual portfolio rate is going to be like 20 plus % better than the stock market, because I'm just going to be picking up all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting. I do not actually want the stock market to continue to get more expensive.
It's either like, do you want the nice, sweet, slow growth, or do you want the correction where you can buy everything cheap and get some nice
both
medium term?
I want both.
They're both just as delicious.
Yeah.
And so like on the same topic, the whole buying into the S&P 500. One thing that I found, which is like actually something that I do with my portfolios, on top of buying the index funds, whenever I've got extra money, I actually buy the individual companies that make up the index funds.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So for example, if I'm investing heavy tech, like I'll own the tech sector, but then I'll go on there, I'll also own Microsoft, I'll also own, Apple, or I'll also own like Facebook, like all these other things, because like the average of that index fund is like, the average is like 7, 8, 9, 10%, whatever it is per year. But then like, if you look at how that grows versus how the individual companies grow, the individual companies typically grow at a much faster rate. Like your returns grow at a much faster rate than the index itself. So I do a mixture of both, which kind of gives me that nice, sweet medium, but also allows me to play the buy low, sell high game whenever big dips hit.
Yep.
Big dip right there.
Yeah. No, I do the same actually, because my first thing when I do is I make sure to max out my Roth IRA. And then I'm setting up my 401k. Won't have matching for another 6 months, but eventually I'll do that up to matching. And then what I do is I just invest in the same stocks, but independently on a different site. I invest on Robinhood, and I know you do too.
Yes,
sir. You invited me. There are other great services out there too, but the fact that they don't charge any fees on transactions is just.
I absolutely love Robinhood. I love everything about it. I mean, I think there are a couple of things that they can put into Robinhood. They can make it a little cooler. Sure. But in general, I think a solid 8, 9 out of 10. I just love it. It's super easy. The transactions are immediate. It's free. Like, and one thing that I like most about Robinhood is I think if it's every year they send you an email that says, "Hey, look how much we've saved you in transaction fees," and you're like, "Holy crap!"
That's gonna be really nice to see.
Yeah. It's really awesome. Like,
that.
Holy smokes, I saved this. Like, thank you, Robinhood. Like,
yeah,
I love the platform. Like, there are some folks that don't like it. I don't know why.
Well, they're nitpicky about that. They don't like the fact that it has limited information, data spanning over some time. I don't know. It has everything that you really need.
One thing that I don't like about it is it only goes back to, like, if you look at a stock's chart, it only goes up to 5 years. So there's no like 5 years, no max. Right? So it only goes up to 5 years. So you can only see how a stock performed after 5 years. So like, say you're looking at like a biotech company, and the biotech companies IPO'd like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And like the stock price 10 years ago was like going through the roof like crazy. And then it crashed for some reason. And then like that crashing point is the beginning of your 5-year period. And so all you know is this little bit of, piddle paddle, like day trading and stuff. You don't even know the potential of the stock because you can't see that far back in history.
You don't have all the data.
Yeah. That's the only thing I don't like about it. Otherwise,
it's a fair argument, but there's no reason why they can't add that kind of stuff in the future. Yeah. They're relatively new. They haven't been around for super long. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to appeal to newer generation.
Yep, and they're doing a really good job of it.
And yeah, I mean, why not, right? I mean, they're creating that barrier to entry. Like for me too, investing in individual stocks, the barrier of entry was the fee.
Yeah.
And I mean, even though I'm a buy and hold, and I'd only be paying like $8, whatever, right? I would be basically saving up until maybe like the end of the month and then buying everything at once, or maybe even every 6 months.
It makes it really hard.
Trying to minimize the amount of fees that I'm paying and stuff. Whereas with Robinhood, if, I mean, I have the $100 that, I just got this paycheck or whatever. If I just want to throw it in there, okay, cool. I'll just go ahead and buy, the stocks more. And I have no trouble whatsoever. So there's no barrier of entry.
You don't have to do the math.
No.
So like, our son Oliver, he actually uses Robinhood, but it's actually my wife's account. But he doesn't have to do the math. If I'm like, okay, here's $50, buy what you want, or here's $100, buy what you want. Like, obviously, give me a reason why you're gonna buy it. Don't go and buy Billy Bob's hot dog stand. No offense to you, Billy Bob, if you're out there, but
Billy Bob, we love your hot dogs.
We love your hot dogs; they're great. But I'm not just saying. But anyways. But so he doesn't have to do the math. For example, if like say you only had $50, say you only had $100. So we're on this topic of if you had $100 a month, what should you invest in? Right. Look at a company like Coca-Cola, and I think Coca-Cola is like a little over $50 now. But let's just say it was $50 flat. And for all you military folks out there, I have USAA. Do you have USAA?
Yeah.
So USAA charges $8.95 a trade. Yeah. So if you say you only have $100. And you're buying 2 shares of Coca-Cola, you have to pay $108.95.
Right.
So you're not, if you only have $100 per month, if you can't squeeze out that $8.95, you're only getting 1 share.
Yeah.
You're not really getting 1 share at $50 either. You're getting 1 share at $58.95.
And you're rolling over that money into the next month probably, and you still only could buy 2 shares.
Exactly. and so like, well, not only is it $58.95 when you buy it, it's also you have to add another $8.95 on top of that when you sell it. Because you're paying that fee to buy and sell that stock. And so you're looking at a 1 share of Coca-Cola going from $50 to like, I can't math, but like $67.
Yeah.
So it's got to reach that point for you to break even.
Right.
And that is why I cannot stand using anything else other than Robinhood.
I might actually pull that out, and when you said at the end of the year or whatever, they give you that, look how much we saved you, right? I might just take that and then make a tweet about it or something like that. Say like, okay, so Robinhood saved me, and Robinhood probably love it, and I'm sure other people have thought of this, but Robinhood saved me this much, and I would have paid this much, and let's say like how much I've made so far or whatever, and whether I would have broken even or how much less I would have had, and that kind of thing, and maybe just do those calculations because I also reinvest dividends and that kind of stuff, and just kind of see, because I bet like, okay, at the end of the year, I've made like $200, let's say. But then if I was paying fees on it with all the different transactions I made, I would have only made like $8.
Yeah.
I guarantee that's probably what it would have ended up being.
I think what I'm gonna do at the end of the year is when I get that email that says, "Hey Mike, we've saved you $3,000 in trading fees." I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna show it to my wife and be like, "Hey, I saved this $3,000. Can I borrow? Can I get some money for a new metal detector?" Hey, look, but I saved this $3,000 right here. Can I get my new metal detector, please? I think I'm going to use that as some ammunition.
Hey, so you actually made me think of something, right? With this $100, we talk about investing in stocks, and that's the main thing that we know and we want to discuss about. But investing is not just only investing in stocks or investing in a retirement plan or these kinds of things. Investing is also like investing in yourself, right? So like I consider investing like buying a self-help book, something that improves your life, allows you to make more money, right? Because that's the goal, which by the way, if you haven't read The Goal, it's a great book. I just did an audiobook of it. It's freaking amazing. I love it.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, it's a really good business book. Yeah. And they tell a story instead of like, but they tell the story in a way that it illustrates all their principles and stuff. And it talks about the goal, which is making money. And for me, my goal, when it comes to any business or company or, project that I have or whatever, is to make money. Yeah. And nothing wrong with that. Everybody should want to make money.
Sure thing.
Like,
money makes the world go round.
Yeah, I'm not stepping on other people to do it. But investing in myself, like for instance, investing in an Audible account and getting that book improved me. And I believe it allows me to make better business decisions. It gives me better tools, my tool belt that I can use to make more money.
Sure thing.
Right. So another thing would be like, for instance, your metal detecting, right? A small thing. I'm sure you can probably pull other examples out of your hat, but you go metal detecting to find coins.
Yeah.
You go metal detecting to find things right out there that could be potentially worth something.
Sure thing.
Something to somebody, right? And spending $3,000 on a metal detector might seem like, oh my God, I would never spend that much money on anything.
Sure.
Besides a computer, which I totally would. You go out there and you find these things and say you're doing it for 20 years or whatever, right? That metal detector can end up paying for itself.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it does. They always do.
Yeah, not only
That's
that.
what I tell my wife.
But you're investing in your own happiness.
True.
Which, benefits your
makes
life.
me more comfortable, makes me relieve my stress. So I'm, ready for life.
Be a better father.
Yes.
Be a better husband and stuff. Having your finances in order and investing for your future and feeling secure. I mean, it takes away so much burden from your shoulders.
That's an entire part of your life you don't have to worry about.
A huge part of every human being's life, right? Because money does make the world go around. If you don't have money, in most societies, you're screwed.
Yeah.
And you feel that weight. And it weighs down on everything. It weighs down on your relationships. It weighs down on your relationships with your kids and your wife. And it's terrible. And having you and your wife on the same page about this stuff, learning and growing together, investing in each other, and generating this wealth, right? Having that entire huge part of your life taken care of allows you to focus on all the other things that you can focus on.
Sure thing.
And have fun and have a podcast with your friends.
Yes, this is what we're doing. High five.
Right. See? So if our finances were in order, we wouldn't be here.
That is 100%.
Yeah.
We would be over here with like some really like makeshift microphone trying to scrape by so we could become financially stable.
We might be like, and this isn't necessarily wrong, but we might be like other content creators where they're making content in order to make a living for themselves.
Yeah.
In order to become financially secure.
Right.
Whereas, we're doing this because we are financially secure and we want to share that with other people. Yes, we want other people to be financially
We want to hand you the gift.
Yeah. And we want our kids to feel I'm going to be first generation affluent. I think you are too, right? Your family isn't inherently wealthy.
No, they're not.
Yeah, right.
Not at all.
Okay. So we're both going to be, and most people are first generation affluent. And we're going to pass that on to our kids, and we're going to try to do our best. I have a few ideas on teaching them on how to appreciate this stuff.
Yeah.
But getting them involved, like how you have Ollie involved with stock investing and everything. That's a great. That's a fantastic step in the right direction.
Well, like he took this step to begin with. That was on him.
That's great.
Which is really weird. It was like, I think he was like 7, maybe.
That's fantastic.
Maybe even younger.
But you were in a position where when he came up to you and he said, "Hey, I want to start investing in stocks."
Yeah.
You could help him do that.
Yeah. Right. So like you have to be the one. Like if they're like, it's kind of hard. Like every kid can have this like wandering dream or like wonder what's going on in life, but if there's nobody there to like help them along and teach them and be like their sensei, be their sensei, and push them along and teach them everything as they go. If they don't have that, then they'll just be lost. Like for every person, whenever they were younger, they had this like dream or they had a question or they were curious about something. But if there's nobody there to like add the water, to the pot, and they can't grow.
Nurture.
And Oliver just walked. I think it was back when I was in my day trading days. I still
dark past.
It's not a dark past. It's a dark past and present.
Mm-hmm.
I still do it for fun because it gets a little boring. It's getting a little boring nowadays. Anyways, let's not get on that one. But
another day.
Well, another one. We will talk about day trading because it is invigorating, tempting. But she's dirty. She's a mean lady, and she'll get you. But we'll talk about that next time, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was in my day trading days, and like every night, like I've got 2 monitors up. I got like these charts going everywhere, and I got like arrows. Everything is flying around, and I'm like, click it on, buy, sell, buy, like doing all this crazy stuff. And we live here in Korea, right? And so the stock market doesn't open. So starting in the spring, the stock market opens up at 10:30 here in Korea, and then when daylight savings time goes the other direction in the winter or whatever, it doesn't open up until 11:30. And so I think this was in like the springtime because Oliver was still awake at like 10 o'clock or 10:30, which he shouldn't have been, but he was awake. And he just like walked in. And he was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "God,
the numbers flying."
Yeah, there's stuff going all over the place. And he's like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "No, this is the stock market, son." And he goes, "Well, what is that?" And I was like, "I will teach you, my son.
Come, my son.
Come. You shall not sleep tonight." And like that was it. And
so word to the kids: if they don't want to have to go to bed, go ask Dad what he's doing.
Most definitely, if you don't want to go to school, ask Dad. Dad, can you teach me about the stock market? I'm pretty sure he'll write you a sick note.
Yeah. All right, son, we're gonna go. Or whatever. He's into fishing or whatever. It's like, Dad, can you take fishing? Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Every kid, needs a mentor, needs somebody to help them through life, and then parents, they need to be there for them. So, like we were talking about before, having your life in order and having hobbies too, because obviously day trading is a hobby.
Yes.
And getting your kids interested in them. I mean, Ollie's he does metal detecting.
Yep.
And my daughters and my son, my son's young, but my kids, they all come up to me and ask me about all kinds of stuff, and I do my best to include them in these things. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait until they're old enough to be able to play certain games.
Yes.
Or and get involved in content creation, and just take more of an active role in some of the hobbies that I have, exercising and all that kinds of stuff. I'm super excited to be able to work with them on that. And when it comes to investing, we teach them how to budget correctly. They have a great savings. Now we need to kind of take the extra step and teach them how to put that savings to work. For them, so that they end up having. Honestly, if they invested what they've saved with like money that they've gotten from their grandparents really and stuff, I mean, by the time they were ready to graduate or whatever, they have a pretty decent nest. They maybe even buy a car.
Yeah, true.
I mean, just outright with cash.
Like
which is
like how many kids how many kids at that age can say, "Boop, I'm just gonna go buy this car."
Yeah,
and I'm gonna pay it off. Like
imagine their friends. Their friends turn around and be like, how do you have that money? It's like, did your parents give it to you? And they're like, no, I just invested it when I was young, when I was 4. Yeah. And then no one. Yeah. So Dave Ramsey says it's like live like no one else, so that later you can live like no one else.
Yeah.
And I know I've mentioned Dave Ramsey twice here and stuff. I don't agree with him 100% on a lot of, but he definitely has the right mentality when it comes to getting out of debt. I mean, it's super strict, beans and rice and all this stuff. I mean, Jesus, but there are ways that you can get around it. But if you want to get out of debt, his program will get out of debt. And he talks about living like no one else, mm-hmm. so that later you can live like no one else. And it's totally true. It's 100% true.
Totally.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. Well, that about does it for us. Thank you guys very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this show. Consider going over to our website, stockfordads.com, where you can find our blog and also videos from our YouTube channel. Go ahead and check those out. Lots of great information out there. There'll be more content to come.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next week where we'll cover another topic. If any of you guys have any topics that you'd like us to cover, go ahead and message us. What would be the best way for them to message us?
They could probably like nowadays everybody uses YouTube. So if they go to our YouTube channel, Stocks for Dads, they could probably subscribe and drop comments on any of the videos, and I will be right there to answer them.
Definitely. And I mean, if you check out a video that you're interested in, you have more questions, and you, of course, drop a comment, and we'll reply. And then, of course, we'll make videos based on everyone's responses and these kinds of things.
Yeah. Also, if you guys don't use YouTube and you guys want to see something, they can shoot us an email at stocksfordads@gmail.com.
It's perfect. We have to make a Twitter account, too, so they can just...
Yes.
Add
Facebook as well. We have Facebook.
Oh, the Facebook.
It's the Facebook page.
Yeah. We have so many things. We should make an Instagram too, so that we have little promos.
Oh, that's a good idea. So we have all kinds of ways. So
no limits.
Hit us up on Facebook, YouTube, Gmail. We are there.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, if you make an effort to contact us, we will reply.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right.